Here at the Creamery here in Newport Richey, we're about to talk to the owner about his secret to his success. Come follow me, and don't forget to subscribe.
Be humble. Be humble. Sit down. Sit down. Be humble. Be humble. Sit down. Sit down. Be humble. Be humble. Sit down. Sit down. Be humble. Be humble. Sit down.
All right, welcome to an episode, the first inaugural episode of Humble Beginnings, Great Expectations. I'm your host, Jeremy Johnson. I'm the owner of 7J Finance, Commercial and Consulting, a real estate company, and this is a real estate story. Today, we're here with the owner of the Creamery. The Creamery is a brand new ice cream shop here in Newport Richey, Florida. It's making waves all across the local community. This shop is just probably one of the more unique ice cream shops that I've ever seen. And the owner here today is Mark Johnson. We're going to learn a little bit about him and his success and how he, started the business and the secrets to, the entrepreneurship that he started. So welcome.
Or, hey, nice to meet you. Welcome.
Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
All right. So talk to me a little bit about, your humble beginnings. What inspired you to become an entrepreneur and why ice cream?
Well, my background is healthcare. For 3 decades now, I've been a respiratory care practitioner. I specialize in pediatric and neonatal transport, helicopter, fixed wing aircraft. So for my adult life, work has always been really serious, and I've taken it seriously. And then, getting older, you want to do something fun. I usually see people at their worst, and I felt it was time to start seeing some happy faces more often and making a difference where I can in the community.
Absolutely.
So, my wife had this idea, hey, why not ice cream, put up an ice cream shop. And at first, I didn't want anything to do with it. I was against it, actually. And she signed me up for this thing called Scoop School, where you learn and how to make ice cream and about the business. And I did it, had a blast, and here we are.
Here we are. So what would you say, what part of your past as, in the healthcare industry helped and translates to your, now owner of a business, serving the local community?
Dedication and focus. In healthcare, all healthcare practitioners know you have to know what you know what you're doing, because you're dealing with life and death. It's very serious work, and it's structured. And being in that environment for as long as I have enabled me to take ice cream seriously the same way. So in healthcare, you're dealing with people all the time.
Yeah.
You're consulting families, you're laughing, you're crying together. So I'm a real good people person. I think because of that, we've been able to be so successful here.
Wow, that's really insightful because, people are the, really the bedrock of any business. And if you know how to take care of the people, then,
Absolutely.
They'll take care of your business. So that's amazing. Everybody's not an entrepreneur. I mean, making that jump from, being a worker to an entrepreneur, business owner,
Right.
is a huge step in and of itself, not just only, financially and fiscally, but, mentally, and, the anxiety, it can be a huge leap. So, what made you say, hey, I'm gonna, do this shift from being, an employee, making, you got a paycheck every 2 weeks to, jumping into the unknown of entrepreneurship for all those out there that, may be thinking of opening up their own business?
Right. Well, challenge, challenges are good. They keep the brain active. They keep you going. And, you got to have something to do. You got to believe in something, If there's something you want to do, you just got to go for it and figure it out along the way. I've been a worker, and I still consider myself a worker. Sometimes I have to remind myself I own the business, because all I know how to do is serve, and I have a good insight to people and what they're looking for and what they need. And the cool part about it is when you see it all come together.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's got to be very gratifying. So that being said, what type of challenges have you seen so far, getting into the business? How did you initially, fund your business? And, how do you see yourself taking it from the beginning stages to kind of having a repetitive, balance of your finances?
Well, initially, saving, personal saving for funding the business. That's where it's going to start. Because we're a small business, family owned and operated. So we just started saving money and buying equipment. And then from there, challenges are, from the very beginning stage, permitting, construction, licenses. And then once you get through that phase and you start operating is when, you just go day to day. And then after a while, you look forward to the challenges. You wake up in the morning and you say, okay, what today?
Right.
And the fun part is getting through them and, problem solving.
Would you say those initial steps gave you the confidence to keep moving forward when it comes to the initial getting the business started, the vision of what the brand is going to look like, and, obviously the ins and outs of the little things that go in it?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because, you want to see it through. And, I like challenges anyway. It's just the way my mind works, due to my background. And I'm a problem solver. And there's always a way, to fix a problem and get through it. But when you see it all come together, that's the best part.
100%. So what is the mission that drives your business? What was the initial vision when you thought, hey, ice cream, we're going to serve the local community? What was the vision?
So, we have a family and we like to go out. We go out for ice cream. We like nice ice cream shops with a good product. But what we were finding as a family was, you could be a family of 5, go out for ice cream and spend almost $100, which is insane, for a beautiful store and a good product.
Trust me, I know.
Yeah. And so we said, well, we can do better than that. We can create a high-end store, which we did, with a high-end product, which we have, and charge a fair price. It can be done. In my opinion, I think it's just greed why other shops choose to charge what they charge for their product. If we make everything here in-house, we have the best equipment money can buy. We have the best product, the best quality ingredients, and we will not rob the community. We don't expect the community to break the bank to pay for good ice cream. You shouldn't have to.
Right.
So we're a community-focused company. And what that means is we put the community first. So we're in the community, we're connected to the community, and believe it or not, the community and the Creamery, we figure it out together.
Absolutely.
And when we see something working, we stick with it.
And this shows, man, if you go on any social media, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, I cannot, take time and look on my phone and go on either one of those platforms and not see the Creamery, posts with, the funny memes and just everyone having fun and talking about the different flavors that you guys have. And the one thing about, real estate and that this is a real estate story is that, you build a business and it's an open shell, it's empty space, but eventually the mind of the business owner, for whatever, inspiration comes in, you create a place that takes on, an entity of its own. And that's just what this place is. It's like, it's a gathering place. It's a safe space. It's, it's a place where people can have fun and, people from all walks of life just come and have a good time. And that's what I've noticed when I've seen you online. Was that the goal when you planned to put this together?
Absolutely. Everything here at the Creamery is purpose built. When you look at our store, our concern wasn't fitting as many seats in here as we could. We thought about families. We thought about the elderly. We think about wheelchairs, walkers, strollers. There's room to move in the Creamery. We have an open ceiling. The acoustics are great. Sometimes we have sing-alongs in here for birthday parties. Even our serving area is oversized so that our team members can be comfortable when they work. It's all about comfort. We definitely put the community first. The big C in Creamery is, stands for community.
Oh, okay.
And it shows, and it pays off. And by community focus, we do things that other ice cream shops just don't, and we take pride in that. We don't charge for events and birthday parties here. If you want to have a party at the Creamery, just call us. We'll check the calendar. If we're clear, you can come in, decorate the space, set up. The only condition is that you buy ice cream. Now, we still remain open for business. If you want a private event, that's a different story, but we're community focused. We don't charge for birthday parties, celebrations. Come decorate, we'll help you, we'll have a good time, we'll play music.
Yeah.
You know, that's what we're all about. The Creamery is also one of the only ice cream shops that lets you split a double scoop of ice cream.
Tell me a little bit more about that. I've never heard of that splitting a double scoop in the U.S. Is it a single scoop or is it a double scoop? What do we do?
Well, so our single scoops are very generous, and our ice cream is absolutely delicious. And many times we see customers behind this counter here, we're watching them and they're scratching their heads and they're confused because they don't know what to pick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the Creamery, we have a rule. You can split a single scoop of ice cream. 2 flavors, 1 scoop.
Okay. I love that. I love that idea. Now, one of the things that sets the Creamery apart from other ice cream shops that I've ever been to is just the crazy mad scientist way you put together your flavors. I mean, I've never seen flavors, such as, a ginger snap, an Oreo, a tiramisu, freaking maple walnut. Like, where do you come up with these flavors?
So some of the flavors are, between my wife and I, we come up with them, or, I have dreams, I'll be dreaming of a flavor. I wake up and I say, this will work, And we also collaborate with many other successful small batch shops across the country. Over the years, I've become friends with them, and we share recipes and stories and ideas. So, there's a lot of collaboration that goes on too, because we want to bring this area unique, high quality ice cream,
Absolutely.
And even our dairy-free options, they're unique too.
Dairy-free.
And we don't upcharge for dairy-free ice cream here at the Creamery. It's not your fault if you're lactose intolerant. You shouldn't have to spend extra money for that. Again, community focus, and that's what makes us different.
Well, thank you, Jesus, because, I cannot eat ice cream after 5 p.m. Ask my wife. That's just not, it's not going to happen, okay? So I appreciate that. As a new business owner, there's a lot of unknowns that come into it. And so for everyone watching, for the person out there that might be a novice to business or maybe have that idea of opening a business where they're not quite sure, don't have the confidence to do it, what advice would you give them about the early stages of forming your business? How do you prioritize your tasks? A little bit about that.
Well, to me, opening a business, it's not about you. It's about your vision and what you want to do for your community. The community comes absolutely first when it comes to a business because they'll make you or break you. I'm here as an owner, I'm here every day, all day, and I'm connected to the community and we talk. Our customers come in and we have conversations, we talk, we laugh, we cry. You have to be grounded and connected, and you have to take your ego out of the equation because as an owner, you're serving, you're serving the community.
Literally.
And honestly, I don't think you should get into it if you can't do that. You're giving, you're providing a service for the public. And it's your job to make sure it's the best it can be and that you're accessible. So you really have to be dedicated to it, I think, to be successful.
Okay. I love that you get the input from the community in terms of how you operate and, how you go about, interacting with them. Let's shift gears a little bit and talk about your team. How did you put together your team and how important is a team to, a successful business?
The team is everything because a team is an extension of your vision. Our team here is fantastic. They are like family. And I know a lot of businesses say our team members are like family, but no, our crew here are like family. They babysit our kids. We know their parents. Their parents come in here, we have ice cream. We know if they make good grades in school or not. Again, community.
Good girls.
Everybody works together here. We've never had to advertise for employment because this space has become so popular. We get phone calls every day. Everybody wants to work here. And yeah, unfortunately, we can't hire everybody. It takes a special person to work here,
right.
A special crew here.
Okay.
And we actually have almost everyone we started out with. We're about 10 months in Yeah, so it's critical.
That's
What
amazing.
works for you is critical.
That's
They
amazing.
have to be happy,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And we have a good time here.
So what type of traits do you look for in a team member of the Creamery?
They have to have a good personality. They have to, be able to talk to people. You can't be a phone zombie.
Yeah.
You got to be able to look at people and introduce yourself, look them in the eye, taking it back old school.
Yeah.
Before everybody lost that personal touch. Because you can see it in the community. When a customer walks into the Creamery, you're greeted and you're guided, you're helped. We're almost a concierge ice cream shop because there's so much to see and so much going on. We guide you and get you through it because our goal here is to get you into the right ice cream for you.
That's awesome. You definitely have the buy-in of the community, or just the people that come in here. They're just they're smiles ear to ear. Just happy and enjoying the ice cream. Now, the ice cream obviously takes center stage, but when I talk to you about the buy-in from the community, how initially did you get that buy-in? Like, can you tell me about the processes, the marketing, the things that you did that helped you best to get the name out there to the community?
Just being me, just being us, just being real, just being humble. When we first opened, some of these fonts here were a little too small. And some of our elderly customers said, hey, I'm having a hard time seeing that. So we enlarged it. Little things like that, listening to the community, listening to what they want, certain flavors they want, or, taking their feedback, and making adjustments, and when you do that, they see, they care, they buy in.
Right.
They become a part of it, because our customers, they love this place. They'll fight for this place. So they're a part of it. We're figuring it out together.
Right.
And I think that's critical in any business. You have to have that connect with the community. If there's a disconnect, it's going to show in your business.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, any successful business has positive and negative experiences.
Right.
How do you handle positive and negative experiences from customers or the community?
Well, positive, of course, is always good.
Always.
We barely ever get any negative from the community, to be honest with you. And we get so much positive that if there is a negative, doesn't even matter.
Yes.
Doesn't matter. The positive outweighs the negative. You know what I mean? As far as, so it's all mostly positive. There's barely any negativity. You're always going to have problem customers. You're going to have customers that they'll complain about anything no matter what. You can't help those people. They can go somewhere else. This isn't your place for you. But if you're a happy person and you like a high-end product at a fair price, this is a place for you. But you're just not going to make everybody happy,
That's
Some people don't, they like subpar and they're okay with that. That's why it's there for them.
Right.
But this is not the place for unhappy people.
I like that answer. That's a great answer. What would you say is your target audience for the Creamery?
The Creamery, any happy person out there, families, any hard worker, anybody who, respects their money and likes quality, And I feel like that's everybody, times are hard and people are hurting out here. And, you deserve a quality product at a fair price. And that's what the Creamery is. There's no nickel and dime in here. It's a beautiful store, a beautiful environment, a fantastic product. And when it comes to homemade ice cream, this is the place. And that's our target audience, families.
So how do you go about, keeping the team focused on that vision and motivated every single day to keep that vision and, kind of spread it out to the customers and to the community when they come in?
Because they have to buy in. They have to buy into the vision, and the way that we treat our team, they can't help but buy in because they're a part of it, and they proudly wear their Creamery merch and they proudly go out there and represent because they're a part of it, Our team members, some of them, they come here on their day off, Wi-Fi is free. We play good music. They bring their friends, it's like a second home to a lot of them. So they really buy into it. And that wasn't hard to do. If you believe in it, and it's a good product and the vision is right, it's not hard for people to buy into it. And you treat them right. You know what I mean? I don't act like a boss. Sometimes I forget I own the place until rents it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Usually I'm back here washing dishes, sweeping the floor. I don't ego trip off of that. You know what I mean? I'm working just like them, and I think they see that and they respect that.
Yeah.
And that also helps.
You do something you love, it doesn't feel like work.
Doesn't feel like work.
Yeah, that's so true. No matter what business you're in, it doesn't matter. What has this short time from being a worker to now a business owner taught you about yourself?
Then I don't know, I'm just a guy on this planet trying to make people smile, make a difference while I'm here. I don't take things too seriously. I'm just enjoying the ride. That's taught me to be humble and to just be myself, honestly. And I think some people may have a hard time doing that. But for me, it's just natural. I've always been a people person.
That's awesome. I think it shows, man. You're very personable. Yeah. I definitely get that, not only through online, but just, meeting you here for the brief time this morning, it definitely shows. Now, everything in business isn't necessarily personal,
Right.
but, you can take it personal. You know what I mean? Business isn't personal, but personal is business. And so that being said, have you gotten any, negative feedback from any competitors in the market?
Absolutely. Absolutely. In any business or anything you do, it doesn't matter what it is, there's haters out there. And haters, they're always going to be there. And rather than motivate, they just try to hate. So absolutely. In the short time that we've been open, we've done a lot of work in the community. We've done a lot of charity work. And we did a big charity event in an ice cream truck a little while back. Another shop out there, made a false claim about us, with our ice cream truck with the health department. And it was bogus and they knew it and they came and they investigated. But yeah, haters, man, they'll do it, And rather than get on the bandwagon or the train or providing great service to the community, they'd rather try to tear you down.
Man, that's
But the beautiful thing about that is
right.
We're so community strong that the community's not going to let that happen.
Wow.
You know what I mean? They love their creamery. Yeah, and we're going to be here no matter what.
That's great. That's awesome. That's great to hear. Now, do you get motivated by the competition?
Absolutely.
Would that make you want to be better and do more?
If anything, you wake a sleeping giant. When I'm chilling and I'm cruising,
Right.
and they want to get us started. You know what I mean? And again, the who benefits from that is the community.
Right.
Because it's always about community. We'll give when we can. And we'll serve every day, all day.
Absolutely. Differentiation is, kind of the secret to longevity and being able to remake yourself and continue to be something that gives back and remains popular. So I've noticed that you've got this vehicle with, the Creamery logo on there. That's way different than I don't see any other ice cream shops or franchise businesses doing this. Yeah. Where did that idea come from?
So shout out to the detail specialist, Anthony Carrera, for building our ice cream truck. Again, community connection. I met Anthony, he was a customer here. And I met him and he loved the vision, he loved the product. Our families, we have family dinners together. We're super close now and he bought in. He has a detail shop in Seminole. He does a lot of cool things with cars. And he said, hey, I'm gonna build an ice cream truck for you guys and we're gonna have fun. And he did it all by himself.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and that was a customer.
Right.
So again, everybody buys in,
Yeah,
that's the best part about it is when you're humble and you're true and you're honest, good people see that.
The community really has your back. The community in that.
We would be nothing without the community, and a lot of small businesses need to understand that.
Right. Absolutely. That's amazing. So what challenges do you foresee in the market? How do you handle them? And, what challenges do you see yourself running into? I mean, it's fairly early, but
Sure. Well, challenges will be supply issues, products, things out of our control. Dairy companies, some of them have issues with supply, just things like that that we can't control. The economy we can't control, the inflation we can't control. So we just try our best to navigate, that as best as possible, but never losing sight of the vision, which is, a quality product, excellent customer service, and yeah.
have you ever seen yourself as a business owner?
No, I still don't.
Yeah.
I see myself as a worker. I get up, I come to work. We're open 12 to 9, Monday to Thursday, 12 to 10, Friday and Saturday. We're here, we're open every day when we're supposed to be, rain or shine. It's just in my DNA. I'm a worker, and I'll always have that mentality. To me, being a business owner means, it's your responsibility is to carry out the vision. But I don't ego trip off of that at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
Absolutely. Commercial real estate is one of the spaces that, specialize in. I'm fairly new in the industry. This is my 5th year, but I find it fascinating how, the business owners such as yourself, again, create a space of, emotion from an empty physical location.
Yeah.
How would you describe, the mental, I guess, process of determining what the Creamery was going to be?
I think everybody should have a vision for their business. And for the Creamery, the vision was open concept, accessibility, fun, a certain type of vibe. Everybody has a vibe. And when you walk into an empty shell of a space, you got to be able to envision it how you want it to play out. And this place came out perfect. Every vision came to life. The commercial real estate, the hard part of that is having your contractors or other, entities, bring it to life. That's where it can be challenging, You got to have a good GC or a good plan or a good company behind you, because you can get into a lot of trouble that way.
That's part of your team, right?
Absolutely.
And so the GC is tied to your budget, and your budget is literally the extension of whether your dream comes to fruition or not. So part of the team, right? Making sure you have one of those.
Absolutely. And, not all of them are great. That's just the truth. It's a scary process. If anything, I feel like that's one of the scariest parts is having a good team behind you. Fortunately for us, this plaza, the landlord is a development company. Shout out to Woolbright Development, and their motto is they make spaces better. So they have their development company, so they have their own GCs, their own checks and balances. So you don't have to, it's a lot more expensive that way.
Right.
But at least it takes a lot of headache out of the equation.
Absolutely. What about having anchor tenants such as a Publix that, kind of leans towards success for a small business such as yourself?
So with the Creamery, we went all in. Beautiful store, beautiful shopping center, Publix as an anchor. We got Michael's on the other end as an anchor. Okay. We're next to Joey's Pizza, which is real big in the area. Shout out to Joey. Joey's Pizza and Italian Market, 2 in Odessa. But, we're at a popular location, and you pay more for that. You pay a premium to be in a public shopping center. I mean, it's just the truth.
Right.
But again, for the Creamery, we're bringing you a high-end product at a great price. So I don't think there's anywhere else we could be.
Absolutely. Now, does the neighbor tenants come into, your thinking process when you're putting together the idea of the Creamery? And tell me a little bit more about that.
So again, it's part of being in touch,
The needs of the community in a sense.
See, I'm a talker, I'm a people person, you know what I mean? So I've become great friends with a lot of the other business owners in the plaza, And you look at their customers or what they expect and what they want, and you try to figure out how you can be a part of that. There's a lunch crowd here, and then after dinner, everybody wants dessert. Usually they come in to get ice cream or vice versa in between. But you just got to find your niche in the whole process where you'd fit in. There's no competition. It's only collaboration. And that's what we do. But you definitely have to be a good neighbor.
Yeah.
You know, in your center. You have to know who else is in there. And I've seen business owners in the short time that I've been here isolate themselves from others. And that's not so good. Yeah.
Interesting. What do you miss about being a worker? Anything?
I'm still a worker. I don't miss it.
You still have the mentality.
It's still,
I love that.
I don't miss it at all.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. What do you love most about being an entrepreneur, business owner?
For me, sitting back and watching people enjoy themselves and watching your vision come to life. When I sit back and I see families at this table or any table and they're playing games, or I see, fathers and their daughters sitting at the kid chair having a moment, or I see the smiles, that's what I love the most. That's what I say. That's what it's all about.
That's the sweet spot.
It's not about the money. Money's important. There can be no creamery without revenue money. So, we need the community to come in and obviously buy ice cream. But seeing the true happiness on the faces of your customer, if that's your goal, when you do see it, there's nothing better.
That's awesome. What advice would you give to any up-and-coming entrepreneur, self-employed business owner, person with a dream that wants to start their own business, but maybe they're, a little apprehensive, a little scared? What's the best advice you would give them?
Take your ego out of the equation. It's not about you. It's about everybody else. That's the best piece of advice I could give. Have a vision, and it's not about you. You can't walk around, if you're the type of person that's walking around saying, I want to be a boss, look at me, the boss,
Yeah.
you're going to fail.
Right.
Because no one cares. And when people feel that about you, they're going to punish you for it, and they're not going to patron your business. You're going to slam your business, slander your business, and you're going to isolate yourself. Take your ego out of it. Have a vision and be the best that you can be for the community, whether you're a personal trainer, a painter, whatever your business is. You got to put community first.
Okay. I love that. And that's the common denominator here is community. The C in Creamery is also what it stands for. So that resonates, just so you know. Now, great expectations.
Yeah.
We've done your humble beginnings, great expectations. What do you see the Creamery being? What's your vision of the future growth of the Creamery, the brand? Give us an idea what we can expect in the future.
Well, the Creamery is a community-focused brand, and what I would love to see in the future, and we're actually in the process of doing some collabs, is it to be recognized as a high-end community brand accessible to everybody. So we're going to branch out more. Any community where we put a Creamery, it's going to be the same thing, same community connection. So we'd like to spread it out a little more so everybody can get to experience it. Right now we are a destination location, but it'd be cool in the future to have a couple more sprinkled throughout the area so that everybody can get this great experience.
Please, a little bit closer to my house, okay?
We're working on it.
Listen, please, a little bit closer to my house. So you already hear first, ladies and gentlemen, a Creamery coming to you very soon. Mark Johnson, thank you for your time this morning.
My pleasure.
Listen, you're a great man, a great leader, great business owner. I look forward to seeing what, the Creamery has in the future. And I appreciate you for being my first guest. Humble beginnings, great expectations. It was a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, brother.
Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
That's it.